Well, I like photographing the moon. It's a pretty beautiful thing to look at in the night sky, although it doesn't always appear at night. But you know what I don't like?
People that make fun of it or debunk moon landing and stuff like this.
They really don't enjoy it. Or at least today I'm going to take a look at a video showing some arguments, and we're going to actually see what we're going to do. So let's do some science, shall we? So when I was younger, I actually saw a video on YouTube that was really about debunking the moon landing, or sort of it. It was just in this sort of corner, and actually back then I did give it a thought. So today we're going to debunk the moon landing. Nah, I'm joking, folks, we're not going to debunk the moon landing, but we're going to debunk the debunkers. Okay, we're not really going to do just that, but there are some arguments that have been brought up to be apparently the arguments basing for why the moon landing could be fake. So I'm going to take these, and honestly when I scroll through the comment section of that video, yes, it is a Romanish video, hence I can't really put just videos because they're not really going to understand it as an English speaker, but the arguments, the comments are really angry, and they're really disbelievable. So let's actually take a look at arguments. I have picked up the most important ones, or at least the ones that I believe actually make more sense to talk about. So apparently the first one is the flag, or fluttering, or however you call it, the motion. I'm going to be honest though, and this is sort of one of those things I'm like, okay, maybe it is true, it does sort of look like, but let's not forget a few things. First of all, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, meaning that any movement will allow, or at least will sort of impulse the flag to whatever do motion. There's just simply no resistance to stop it. So small movements could do and really sort of like this movement that you normally see on a flag. Although I'm going to be honest, in a studio, I'm not sure you would have a flag doing that. You know, a studio is like a enclosed building, I mean a room specifically, so that would really not happen, but whatever. Also, the flag stays right up, although technically it should fall, but it does have a metal bar that supports it. This way the flag doesn't sag down and, well, yeah, kind of ruins the point of the flag. So that's number one argument. So not a very strong one, but it was just I decided to include it. Now, the following argument, or argument number two, is sort of not the argument I would really go. It seems like, although it is also one of those, yeah, it's a good question, but I have really seen, and you can be actually surprised by the quality of cameras, because argument number two is actually about camera. Why? Like, how is it that you get so high resolution images, or do they hate ancient cameras? Well, actually, there are quite a few things, and like quality lenses will pay off. Although it doesn't really sound like the lens can do much. Yes, the lens does quite a lot, and in fact for a Polaroid camera, for example, that is a ancient camera, if you have the ancient models that will print out a picture instantly, for example, yes, the glass lenses will do a difference versus the plastic lenses that will not be as sharp. So yes, lenses do play a quite important role, but what I would also assume is that they didn't really have to use a high ISO film, simply because they were in a really bright environment, so they wouldn't really need high ISO, making grainy and maybe not as sharp of an image. And in the video itself, they actually did mention that also NASA, of course, did not release all images, only obviously the good ones that would also make for a good image. Obviously, that's how photography works. You always have quite a few that didn't quite do it, and that one image that actually did do it. So yeah, this is an interesting argument, but yeah, also not really the strongest. So this was argument number two. Now it's time for argument number 3. this argument actually gets me the most excited actually, simply because I know it from my own experience, and this is the missing stars. What do I mean with my own experience? Well, on the image or on the video right now, I'm going to display two images that I've taken with different cameras of the moon itself. And can you notice the fact that there are no stars in the picture? Well, why is it there are no stars? Well, actually the same applies just how the photos included no stars on the moon landing videos, on images. This is simply because the lunar surface is really bright. So obviously they chosen a very high-speed shutter, And what I'm trying to say with that is that essentially the shutter just got very quickly, not allowing for the fainter light of stars. And in fact, this is also the same reason why on my images you also get no stars. The exposure setting was specifically set to capture the moon, not the stars. And right now I'm going to display what it looks like capturing some of the stars, but obviously the moon is way too bright, ruining the image. So yeah, as an astrophotographer, or at least as an amateur hobby astrophotographer, I can confirm that yes, you should only see the moon surface in this case and not the stars, else it would actually hint towards editing rather than being real. So this was argument number 3. And now argument number 4. So this argument is really interesting, and it is apparently about shadows not always being parallel as you would expect on the lunar surface. Well, actually I'm recording right now with studio lights, and you can see that the shadows don't really look crisp. That's because I wanted that. This eliminates shadows that would otherwise kind of ruin the entire effect, and so this is why I have soft lightings, and most studio lights will use soft lightings. Even if we assume they did use studio lights, maybe they could cut them parallel, but really parallel, are these shadows parallel? Yes, they are, because why are these shadows parallel? Well, this is for the same reason why when you look actually at a rail, for example, you can see that the rail seems to be touching at the end and far away, but obviously they are not. A top view would actually review that they are not touching, and this is called crepuscular shadows. Yes, it's an interesting word. It essentially says exactly this fact that yes, the rays seem to be diverging out, but a satellite image will reveal that actually no, they're just doing what they should do. So pretty much that's one thing. Just so this entire shadow thing is really crepuscular shadows. This is interesting, but yes, it doesn't hint for studio lighting. So this was argument number 4. And now the last argument over here, which should be argument number 5, but honestly I'm going to be really honest with you, it's not one of the strongest. It's about the Van Allen belt. And although yes, it is a pretty interesting belt, and staying in there would probably cause damage, the astronauts did try to get through as quick as possible, and this really minimized the risks compared to other things that could have happened on the mission. Actually, this was not really, I think, their main concern, but one of them probably, yes. However, as I said already, the short exposure allowed them to obviously be able to cross it. It's also really an interesting thing because it's all a spectrum. It's not like, oh, you've been irradiated, you're going to die. No, it's more or less a spectrum. At a certain number it happens, but yeah, it's really interesting how it happened on the Van Allen belt. That's just cruised quick enough, they didn't have to deal with this. So this was argument number 5. So yeah, these were some of the arguments that I dissected, and honestly I do think some of them were relevant, some of them were less, and some I just didn't include because I didn't think they were just as strong, and so yeah, I didn't really include those. But yeah, honestly, debunking really the moon landing is like, at this point you are watching this video thanks to the satellites that are in space. So how much of a jump is it to land on the moon if you already have satellites in space? So there would be this, for example, which goes to show it's probably not actually just as hard. If you already own a mini computer in your pocket, I don't think it's really that hard to make a rocket fly that much for long. And remember, space has no air resistance, so they would really be bothered about air resistance, because there is none. So yeah, this was my analogy and video, and if you enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, and leave your comments. I am definitely up for if you are on a debate in the comments. But remember, a thesis must be always supported by an argument and at best with an example. So this was it from my side. I'm Photonic Luminescence. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.